to the light.
Yes, hold on to the light, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, dark world ahead, but guess what? Jesus is the light at the end of the tunnel. With that being said, we have a guest on this segment of the Cajun Conservative Show today. He is the host of the Caldarise. I'm trying to remember the podcast name. Is Unleashed?
It's Caldarise Unleashed. Yeah.
Caldarise Unleashed, Mr. Mike Caldarise. He's a good friend of Michael Source, who was on the show a few weeks ago. Mike, what's happening, man? Finally got to meet you in virtual person.
I know. I've been listening to you. It's been really nice, man. I love what you do. It's really good, and I appreciate you having me on, man. Yeah, Mikey Schwartz, he's awesome. I was just on with him. We did like a 3-hour-long marathon.
Wow.
I was debating one of his liberal friends. It was a lot of fun. I love doing this stuff, man. It's great.
Hey, man. And, hey, so you're a conservative. It's obvious. Man, don't liberals just they're attracted to you like a magnet?
No, they actually stay away from me like kryptonite.
Okay.
For being honest, yeah, because I have a very weird recall mechanism in my head. If I hear something, I'm able to regurgitate it at weird times, but it's only there for split seconds. So I tend to cut people off so I can get it out, but I have a very good memory. And the problem is I'm very accurate with things. You see what I do is I read both sides and I try to get to know both sides and I try to get to know everybody's different arguments. And if you really understand them, everyone's really very predictable. So that's what I found. Like when we were debating the guy, it's Mike's I think it was his 7th episode. You really get a sense of the liberal mindset because it's a lot of they believe what they're told. It's a very interesting thing. Like they make comments about what Trump says based on what other people told him he said, instead of actually listening to what he said and going off of that and making their own conclusions. It's very interesting dealing with people that really think they know what they're talking about and don't. It's very interesting, but I love it.
And the ironic thing about it is I make TikToks about this all the time, and you always hear the liberals tell me, "Oh, you need to stop listening to Fox News," and I'm like, I don't even hardly listen to Fox News, but I remember I went off on one guy and I was like, "Look, dude, you're telling me not to listen to Fox News. Where did you pick that up? CNN? Which is the Clinton's news network, in my opinion." So
it's the go-to. It's the when you have nothing left to say, what you do is you go to the things that you think you're making a point on that you're really not making a point on. So it's like they constantly have to bring up Fox News or they'll bring up Alex Jones or they'll accuse you of being a Proud Boy or it always devolves into some type of name calling and the whole 9 yards. And listen, I'm not just a conservative. So like when I say I'm a conservative, people mistake that. It's like, I want to conserve the Constitution. I'm not a Republican. I don't like Republicans. I bash them on my show just as much as I bash the Democrats. I think our government is so horrific. And I think we have actors, right? They have people that are in control. They have actors that are paid to tell the leftists what they want to hear. And then they have the right that are paid to tell them what they want to hear. And really the majority of people are just doing what they're told on both sides. It's a select few that think. I think the people that think tend to be more on the Republican side, the conservative side, because we don't just accept what's fed to us.
And look, I'm the same way, and I get told that all the time. You're using the Republicans' talking points, and I'm like, well, my last episode, I talked about how the Republicans are wrong by holding out a speaker for this long. We're about to get it now. Now, at the time this episode's released, there might be another speaker, but we're not sure. We don't, Jim Jordan is having a hard time, so we have to. The Republicans they're both of the same. They're two different sides of the same coin, basically.
Exactly, and they're lucky that the Democrats bailed them out with putting Palestinian flags outside of their offices so they could distract from the horrible mistakes that they made. And it wouldn't be like I like some of these guys. I like what they're saying, right? I like what Gates did. If Gates wasn't so hypocritical in his approach, I'd be way better. Like I'd be way more accepting of what they did. But I'm not seeing a magic speaker that's going to come in and be able to unite both of these parties and get everything done and get spending cuts done. Is this magic unicorn? Like, is he going to come sometime? Who is he? I really like Jim Jordan, but is he really the guy that's going to be able to get, the Senate to do something? When, if you ask me, I think McCarthy he didn't give. He was establishment, and he kind of did what the leftists want. And he made a deal, but if you listen to the man talk, he was on message. He was doing a really good job as speaker about putting forth the Republican positions, and they got rid of him. And I don't understand it. It's nothing but chaos. It's showing them that we have nothing but chaos in the Republican Party. It's very interesting to watch him work.
And I agree with you. And I agree with you because look, I've called it out. Matt Gaetz is hypocritical because, Matt Gaetz goes ahead and says, look, Kevin McCarthy went across the aisle, but to get him out of that position, he had to go team up with the Democrats. Him and 7 other Republicans, they did exactly what they claim Kevin McCarthy did. And that right there bothers me. And look, if Matt Gaetz is all for, hey, let's impeach Biden, let's do these impeachment inquiries, let's look into that, all stops. And God knows what Biden's doing. Biden's spending money left and right that he had that was being stopped by Congress. Now it's not. So was it better to oust out Kevin McCarthy? I don't believe so.
I really don't think so. It's like, once again, like everyone thought when Trump was in office, there was going to be nothing but chaos, right? Well, we just saw nothing but chaos for the last 2 months between a couple of Republican debates. You saw nothing but chaos in the House. You saw nothing but chaos when they were trying to elect McCarthy in the first place. It went on, 16 different times?
Yep.
And these people they make themselves look so inept over and over and over. And it just makes me wonder why we accept this. It's like Chris Smith. I always bring him up when I speak about any of this stuff. The man in my district, it's who represented my area for forever. Since I'm 44, he's been... as long as I've been alive, he's represented Monmouth County in my area, right? He's there for 21 terms. He just gets elected to a 22nd term. Is he the only person that could ever run and ever do any of this stuff? My problem with these guys is they don't mean what they say a lot of the times. Like, you take Gaetz again. I don't want to drag me on. Cut me off when you want, right? It's
your
show. I don't want to take over. But you take Gaetz, for example. Gaetz, he rubber stamped all of Trump's spending. And if you're really a conservative and you're really a fiscal conservative, you should have a problem with how much Trump spent. Now, I'm a big Trump guy. I was on the Trump train very early, but I could say areas where I don't like what he did. But if you're going to sit there like Matt Gaetz and not complain, sign everything that Trump wants and spend all that money, now all of a sudden you're a spending hawk. It's not believable. You're fundraising off of it. You're not believable. These people, to me, expose themselves, but it's amazing on how many people on both sides just follow them left and right. I can tell you a very interesting story about the Trump rallies, and I can tell you about January 6th, and like I was there all day, and it's just when I look at these guys, it's when we use the word sheep, there's sheep on both sides. I try to make everybody understand that.
And see that's the difference with you and I. We are. We look at the evidence because look, people on the conservative side say, why you read Political? Why you read CNN? Because you have to know what the other side says. How you get what I'm saying? And look, I don't know about you, but like Political is yes, it is a left leaning paper, but that's a great paper. They do a good job of reporting.
So I read everybody, right? I'm sure you do, because when I listen to your shows, you sound very well. You sound very knowledgeable. You seem like you take in a lot of different information. It's not just one-sided. Like you take this Palestine-Israel conflict. I went back and I listened to Al Jazeera. Right. I listened to CNN. I listened to Fox News. I read a whole bunch of stuff on the Daily Wire. There were a lot of stuff about what that Ben Shapiro was saying. I went back and I listened to what some of the Palestinians were saying and some of the craziness from coming out of, Hamas. I try to understand every single side of it. That way I'm not a homer. That way I'm not just, some fan here like I'm cheering on a football game. Right. I'm trying to say, what's this really about? I'm trying to understand what it's really about. And the sad part is there's far too many people do not take the time to actually do that. They just want to listen to something, believe what they're told. They don't want to listen to all sides and formulate something, on their own. And like you do, clearly like you do.
And that's one reason I have issues with it. Look, don't get me wrong. I'm slowly moving back towards Trump, and him and DeSantis are very close, in my opinion, of the right person for the job. But it is the same thing with some Trump supporters. And look, like you said, it's just not Trump supporters. It is Ron DeSantis supporters. It is Nikki Haley supporters. everything they say is they're hinging to that. Oh, that is gospel because Trump said it, DeSantis said it. And look, I don't want nobody to hinge on anything I say because I could be wrong. You could be wrong. We admit that, but that's the difference between a lot on the right and very few on the left will ever admit they're wrong. Because look, Russian collusion still hold as fact on the left hand side, and it's been proven by one of their own agents it was wrong.
It's take like East Palestine, Ohio, right?
Right.
The train derailment goes off. They have a horrible response to it. Pete Buttigieg isn't there for 10 days. And then what happens? They come out and they go, oh no, but Trump's deregulation back in 2016 is the real reason why these brakes failed. And it's really the reason why we couldn't even get there on time. And we told everybody that no, the water wasn't seeping and it was getting in all the rivers. And it's like, he's the reason why they lied to everybody. Yep. Trump's the reason why everything. And it's like, they always want to blame someone else. And you're right, not take any responsibility for any of their actions.
My famous saying is, when all else fails on the Democrat side, blame Trump, because they did it a couple of weeks ago.
No matter what, they'll figure out a way to blame Trump. No matter what, it's still like they're blaming Trump for the border. It's like, really? How does that even work out? Like, you're blaming Trump for gas prices. You blame Trump for East Palestine. You blame Trump for the last tornado that came ripping through Oklahoma. Right. The two hurricanes ago. It's all because Trump stop climate taxes. It's all a joke, man. But the problem is, how many people believe this?
Right.
That's the problem. How many people believe this? How many people can we reach? That's why I do these type of shows. Can we I try to get through everybody's head that, you're being lied to on such a massive scale on both sides of the aisle. You're like DeSantis, right?
Yeah, I'm a DeSantis guy.
DeSantis. So I love DeSantis. I think he's the best governor, in America.
But hold on. I got to disagree with you now, man. Jeff Landry will be the top come in January because he just blew out the Republican Party and the Democrat Party here in Louisiana. So DeSantis and Jeff Landry now is going to be a little close race.
All right, so that's your boy from where you're at. Listen, I'm with that. I haven't heard his name yet, but I'm looking forward to hearing him, do really good things for you guys. But no, okay, so take him out of it. DeSantis is number 2 in the country, but I think he got lied to. I think he got very bad advice that he could win this election, and I don't think he could come close because I believe every one of DeSantis's voters are Trump voters.
Right, I agree.
And in order to be able to beat Trump, you have got to be able to attack Trump in some type of way. And in doing that, you're inevitably going to turn off some of his voters from liking you because you attacked them. Right. So you're threading. There's such a fine needle that he needed to thread. And I think, you look at his last couple of debates, he answered a question. He tried to smile. Didn't he look constipated to you?
He did.
He kind of he answered and he went, and he did that kind of fake weird smile. I think he realizes now that he's hurting himself. I really wanted him to hold off to 2028. I think if he would have just ran Florida and ran in 2028 and set himself up for that, man, I think he could have walked to it. But I think he's hurting himself right now, and I don't like seeing it. I'm
gonna say this: if he wouldn't have ran, probably Donald Trump would have picked him to be vice president. It's still a good shot, but it's a long shot. But I'm gonna be honest with you. I see Vic probably being the more of a VP candidate for Donald Trump now. But after that last debate, because you had Vic on the first debate hammering everybody, and everybody praised him. Comes to the next debate, he wants to work with everybody. So it's hypocrisy at its finest.
Vivek, I like what Vivek says, and I liked him enough to watch him on a lot of different shows. My problem with him is to me, he seems like he studied Obama and how Obama delivers messages and even his mannerisms and his sayings. I just think I've always got an impression that he was put there to kind of steal thunder from someone like DeSantis and some of these other guys. I really do, because he does a great job. I mean, Vivek, he's very convincing. He's a successful guy, but the more I'm learning about him, he's losing his luster with me personally a little bit.
Right.
But it's like I said, he's very good at saying what we want to hear. Very, very, very good at it. I say the same thing about Gavin Newsom on the other side.
Right.
So Gavin Newsom's going to he's a stud. And if anybody can't admit that, I mean, the guy's an absolute stud. He's tall, he's handsome, which right there, he's going to get a gigantic portion of the vote, and he could talk and he's articulate. Now, what he did in California and his record, two totally different things. But a lot of times that doesn't matter in a presidential.
But
it's a popularity contest.
Now this is where it's gonna hurt Gavin Newsom, because assumedly he ain't running in 2024, and unless something would happen to President Biden, I don't see him running anyway. But you got to remember, in November there is a debate between Gavin Newsom and Ron DeSantis, hosted by Sean Hannity. To be honest with you, Mike, I am more excited about watching that debate than any Republican presidential debate.
Really? Now, I'm with you. That's going to be very intriguing to watch. I question why Ron did it. Like, why do you think Ron did that?
I think he's trying to show his achievements in Florida, because you got to remember, Gavin Newsom he sent tons of bad comments towards Ron DeSantis. Like the COVID incident. Well, Florida did this and Florida, but California did this, and look how good we are in California. But if you look at the numbers, Florida did way better than COVID-19 than California. So I think that's where it's going to come to the point. I think Ron DeSantis said, look, instead of us throwing jabs at each other from across the country, let's meet on one stage and let's compare our notes.
And it's going to be very interesting to see who comes off on that, because it's suspect. I've never seen Gavin Newsom really debate. I've seen some of the governor debates when they were doing it, but it wasn't like, you can't really get a good feel for how he's going to go up when he's being attacked and when he's really, going back and forth with DeSantis. It's just when DeSantis is running for president, I see him lowering himself by debating someone that's not running for president, even though how much I want to see it. I don't get why. Once again, this is one of these very interesting things, like how he launched his campaign and how he didn't go on any podcasts or any shows. He didn't get his name out there. He's been doing a lot of very interesting things. I'm honestly, to say bluntly, I'm kind of disappointed in the track he's taken. I think he's really hurting himself. Now, does he have a chance? If he really destroys Gavin Newsom in that debate, I think there's a lot to gain there. I think he's gambling, though. He has a lot to potentially lose, but he does have a lot to gain. Like, if he can dismantle,
this is what's hurting, just not DeSantis, but all the candidates in this race right now. And I said, I think I titled it that. I said they want Trump policies, but without Trump. And that's the thing. So, and look, Chris Christie, one of the biggest critics of Donald Trump. Oh, Donald Trump's this, Donald Trump's that. But when they asked him about the border wall, he was for a border wall. When they asked him about certain policies, he wanted to put certain policies. And that's where my realization came to was, well, hold on. You're running against Donald Trump because you thought he was a bad president, but why you want to implement all his policies?
Every single one of them. And name one that they would change. They wouldn't change any of them.
And that's the issue I think all these candidates are having. Like you said, Ron DeSantis, he really wants to go after Donald Trump. But if he goes after Donald Trump on a policy and wants to implement that policy, well, why we want you president then?
Exactly. What are you doing? How are you any different? Really, you're not. Really, you're just Trump light. Right. And that's the problem. And the people still want Trump. I think the majority of people think that he did a great job, especially now. When you see what's going now 3 years later, yep. Trump doesn't look so bad anymore. You haven't heard a mean tweet in how long?
Yeah, long time.
In a long time. So the things that people don't like about him, one of the interesting things I love doing, if you ever have someone on your show and, take this down there, tell me, I'd love to hear what you think about it. Just ask people what they don't like about Donald Trump, and then ask them what policies they didn't like. When you really break down the policies, they love his foreign policy. It was probably the best out of any president in my 40 years of life, right? And then they loved his domestic policy with low gas prices and the economy booming and everybody having jobs. And when you look at what he did, it's really good. So he's been gone for a while. The thing that everyone hated about him was that, he called this guy a bad word on Twitter. It's gone. It's gone. And now what's happening, like you said, how do you take his place when all you do is come in and implement his policies? And the reality is you're probably not going to do as good of a job negotiating his policies that he did, because they're his. They're all America first.
They're all America first.
The exact same thing.
And this would probably be the best scenario. I don't agree with Donald Trump calling for it, But you can't lie either. It'd probably be the best policy. Hey, all these guys backing down and say, look, let's go ahead and go after Donald. Let's go join up with Trump. Let Chris Christie run against him. Chris Christie is is damaged goods right now. But
you don't want Christie.
But I promise you, like Ron DeSantis, okay? Ron DeSantis says he drops out. Donald Trump, I believe he's gonna win big in 2024. But imagine if he got DeSantis on his side. I think it'll be a blowout because most conservatives and most Republicans like both those men, and you can't lie. Donald Trump gave a good word to Ron DeSantis the first time. Second time he won in a landslide, but it was that first time it was neck and neck, and Donald Trump brought him over the threshold.
I mean, he really did. He gave him the yank. He gave him the boost that he needed. And Donald Trump he's going to be scorned forever. It's one of the bad things about him is his scorned wife almost mentality. Sometimes when you one thing that he thinks that you cross him on, he's never gonna change. Listen, I think DeSantis is ultimately going to come over and throw full support behind Donald Trump.
I believe so,
he's
too.
going to have to, right? If he ever wants a shot at Trump voters, which are immense. You have to placate to Trump because he shows how much he has a lot of power and he has a movement. Like, have you ever in your life? How old are you?
I'm 30. 31. I had to think for a second.
So in your 31 years, or say you're 15 years, and you may have been paying attention to this stuff, you haven't really seen this. You've seen Obama, but you've never seen roadside stores with Obama's name on it, like you did with Trump. There was like just pop-up hot dog stands like full of Trump stuff everywhere. Like, so he's at the back of a movement here. These guys have to placate to him, and they're going to. He's going to blow them all out. The more people stay in, the better it is for him, right?
And it don't look good if they do come against Donald Trump, because that's what the left does. Look, Biden's famous word is the MAGA Republicans. And I'm like, really? Don't he know what MAGA means? Is make America great again? What is wrong with that? Hey, I'm glad to be a MAGA Republican or a MAGA America then, because, hey, I want America to be great. I want America to thrive. I want America first, not this baloney administration we got here that wants to put a second. But that, people that are on the right, like Chris Christie, he opens his mouth, I'm against Trump. First words out of all the Republicans, Mike, he's a rhino. He hugged Barack Obama. He talked good about Joe Biden. He did. So there's a lose-lose situation any way you choose.
Yeah, and I mean, think about what you said. The MAGA Republicans, why they label us that. I could tell you, if you ever want to have this conversation, because I don't know how much time you have or whatever, but just being there all day January 6th, I knew how much they were lying to us just then, right? And the interesting part is how they wanted to frame it and how we're all insurrectionists. So if you were just there that day, I tell everybody this. When I say to people, I was there January 6th, if they're Republican or Democrat, they typically give me the same look. They go, their eyes open up and like, you were there, you were part of the insurrection. And they have framed it to where MAGA means something bad. MAGA means racist. MAGA means insurrectionist. MAGA means everything negative to people that aren't smart enough to see that MAGA means people that want the country great. It's very interesting. MAGA, you'll never hear MAGA associated with any type of policies because that's not how they want to push it.
Yep.
They want to push everything negative. That's why they use it. Oh, these MAGA Republicans are the biggest threat to democracy and our democracy and blah, blah, blah. It's like, we're trying to conserve this republic. We're not trying. It's a very interesting dynamic that's at play. It's you say a lie long enough and it's going to go. You look at Mike Schwartz, what he's dealing with. It's so many people were lied to about COVID for so long that they'll never break out of that lie. Once you say a lie and you say it long enough, and you'll never convince that person they've been lied to. And all he's doing is presenting his data on what he did, right? And you have to see the attacks that this man gets.
Yeah,
it's like, guys, he's being fact checked. It's unbelievable on YouTube and stuff.
The only reason they're coming against him is because of one word, Fauci. You get what I'm saying? And because, look, I've talked to a lot of people, when I talk about Michael's book to them, they're like, oh, we want to read it because we want to see that data. But, Mike, you know how many people I'm seeing right now wear masks in my state? I was laughing. I was laughing my rear end off the other day because I was in my dump truck, turned down the road, and I look in a car. This woman is by herself with a mask, and I'm like, you got COVID? That you protecting yourself?
It's they have been brainwashed to believe that mask is going to trick them, or it's going to save them from these microparticles.
And
right. When in reality, all they're doing is not expelling a lot of bacteria, and they're creating a petri dish on their face and putting it back in. But it goes to the overall point, right? They were told from these people that wear a mask, it's going to help you. Wear a mask, it's going to help you. They never looked at any of the fact check or any of the studies. They never even thought for themselves just for a second. They just believed what they were told. And there's so many people that do that. It's unbelievable. And there you go. There's your voter base. How are you ever going to convince somebody to like do their own like thought process if they're not even thinking about putting something on their face and covering their face up? To people, I think I really think it's their type of, you ever, when you were a kid and you heard the boogeyman and you're laying in bed and you thought the boogeyman was around, what's the first thing you did? You threw the blanket over your head. Now that blanket is going to protect you from everything, right? It's Iron Man's shield. It's everything. Or Captain America's shield. That blanket meant everything to you. This mask is representative of like everything like good in their world. And it's very, I try to figure out how these people think of the way they do. And I really can't figure it out. It's very interesting, man. But they lie. The lie goes further than the truth.
Yeah, and you said something, you say a lie long enough, you know who said that, huh? Adolf Hitler. Adolf Hitler said if you say a lie long enough, loud enough, and often enough, guess what? People believe it. Guess what? And he was the founder of socialism, well, Mike, with that being said, we're running a little short on time but we're gonna have to do this again, man. I love this conversation.
Come on whenever you want. Definitely. This is awesome. You gotta come on our show as well. You gotta meet Jay.
Oh yeah.
The show started off as just Caldarise Unleashed, where I didn't even know what I was doing, man. I had like a phone and I was really just like yelling into my phone. And then we eventually, got a whole good setup, but my neighbor started doing this with me. And so I got my buddy Jason Morgan. We come in, and if you heard him, it's both of us. So we have a really good time. So you definitely got to come on our show, rap with both of us about whatever topic you want. We take on any topic on our show. We're not afraid of it.
Man, dude, I tell you, the question I've been getting asked the most now, I'm so glad that we have a Republican governor elect now. Everybody from outside the state of Louisiana was at, how are y'all the only southern state that has a Democrat? And I'm like, well, we're not the only one. Kentucky still got one right now, but hopefully that changes in November. But I'm just like, the state of Louisiana, yeah, we had a low voter turnout, but I heard a good point on that, and we could dive with that anytime. We had a low voter turnout, but it was all informed voters. Because look, this is the first time in, I think, 12 years we had a governor that won on the first ballot without going into a runoff.
Wow.
And Jeff Landry picked up this state with 52% of the votes.
Okay.
The closest Republican running against him had 6%. The Democrat only had 25%. And look, we had people that were informed, and they had.
Is that a bellwether, you think? Is that indicative of what's to come?
I think that is what to come, because last year we had a supermajority Senate, and then we had a majority House for the first time in our history in the state of Louisiana. So, and look, shout out to Blake Miguez, our state senator. He was the conservative leader of the House last year, and he put that all together. And we have people that are tired of the good old boy system, and everyday Republicans saying, hey, we got things under control and everything's a mess. Now let's put the conservative way in. So we have a bright future here in Louisiana.
Good. Congratulations. But I got to tell you something, like everyone thinks New Jersey is bad crap crazy. And a lot of it is, man. A lot of the parts are. But if you look at the parts of that map during election day where you see these streaks of red in the county, that's where I live. And I'm going to be honest, even no matter where I travel, I don't know if I've ran into or talked to anybody that likes Biden. I do a lot of, I do high-end masonry. I talk to a lot of people. every one of my customers, none of them, they all stand against this lunacy. I haven't ran into many like true liberals that are just around that are willing, maybe not willing to admit it. So I think it's encouraging. I think we should be encouraged out there. We're gonna be all right. Put it that way.
I'm planning on a blue wave, not a blue wave, a red wave happening next year. We had a red trickle last year, but let's have a red wave this year or in 2024.
Definitely did. We definitely had a red trickle.
Red trickle, more like instead of a red flood, a red puddle.
Yeah, I mean, once again, they made so many mistakes. They put up a lot of bad candidates. It's very interesting. So the Republicans, just so you know, the Republicans have to put up quality candidates to get Republicans to vote for them. Democrats can run people like John Fetterman, who is brain dead. Like, he was literally brain dead at the time. And then they also voted in a man in Pennsylvania that literally died 2 months before the vote. Okay, they voted in a legit dead guy and a brain dead guy, and it's you just have to remember that Republicans have to put forth very good candidates. Democrats don't. If you have the D there, you're going to get a certain percentage of votes. So we have to do a good job of they have to do a good job of putting up candidates. It's the only way you're going to have a red wave, and hopefully it comes.
Yes, sir.
They are better off. We are better off if they're in charge. I agree with that.
How does Dan Bongino said that? He said the Republicans aren't the cause, I'm trying to make sure I say it right. He said Republicans aren't they don't solve all your problems, but the Democrats cause all your problems, and
they're not going to create any. Yeah.
But Mike, before we roll out, tell everybody where they can find your podcast, and if you have a website or anything like that.
You know what? It's our show has just we are very controversial. So we talk, like I said, we take on every show, but we're on everywhere. We're on Spotify, obviously, Apple, Google. We started this a long time ago. So it's really, find me there. We don't have any website put up for it, because I don't do it to make money. Okay, I do it so I could say what I want to say, how I want to say it, and Jay does the exact same way. We own our own businesses already. I said I'm a mason contractor. Jay's a landscaper, and will we monetize it or do that someday? Yeah, sure. But it's called Caldarise Unleashed. If you type in basically CALDA, I'll pop up basically on almost any podcast platform. They said mostly Apple and Spotify and all those. Yeah.
Mike, thank you for coming on, man. And
you have me, man. Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Next time we're gonna get you on a full episode. How about that? Where we got 3 segments to talk.
Let me do. You say when when I record, man. Mondays, Wednesdays, and on the weekends. So whenever you want, I'll come on. I'll give you as much time as you want. I love doing this. Love talking. We could definitely go for a while. This was quick.
Yeah, this was 30 minutes. So long segment, but it's good. Mike, thank you for coming on, man.
Man, Cajun Conservative, I appreciate it. Thank you very much for having me. Have a great day.
Have a good